All right, like I said, today we're on page 25 in the book, and what we're going to be doing is finding the distance between points on a number line and on the coordinate plane. Finding the distance between points on a number line and on the coordinate plane. So distance on a number line is equal to the absolute value of the difference in the points, meaning you take the 2 points and the values that correspond to those points, and you subtract them, and you find the absolute value. So this is your formula, and this is how it works. If we're on a number line, and we've got point P right here, we're going to call its coordinate x sub 1. And if we got Q right here, and its coordinate is x sub 2, then PQ, which means the distance from P to Q, is equal to the absolute value of the difference in the points. You subtract the values that correspond to each point, and that gives you the distance. All right, so hopefully you've got a calculator out right now, and we're going to do some examples on the bottom of page 25. So the first thing we're going to do is use the number line to find BE. So point B on the bottom of page 25 corresponds to a -6. So from B to E is equal to the absolute value of -6 minus point E is at 2. So the distance from B to E is equal to the absolute value of -6 minus 2. Now, the absolute value of -6 minus 2, in your calculator, if you're using the TI-30XA, you push 6 and then the button below the 3, the plus minus button, and that makes your 6 negative. And then you can push -2 and hit equals, and you get the absolute value of -8. And absolute values are always positive because absolute value means how far is the number from 0 on the number line, and -8 is 8 units from 0 on the number line. All right, so look down at the bottom of that page. We got example 1A. We're going to find the distance from A to C. So from A to C, we're going to go absolute value, -7. And C corresponds to the, now be careful here. A is at -7, and we're going to subtract -4. All right. So we're going to get the absolute value. We got -7 minus -4. So we're going to go 7 negative minus 4 negative and hit equals. We get the absolute value of -3. And the absolute value of negative 3 is equal to 3. Guided practice 1B down there, we're going to find the distance from C to F. So we got the absolute value of C, which is at negative 4, minus F, which is at 5. So 4 negative minus 5, we get the absolute value of negative 9. And the absolute value of negative 9 is equal to 9. And let's do one more. Let's do 1C down there. We're going to do from F to B. The absolute value of F corresponds to 5 minus B, which is at negative 6. 5 minus negative 6. All right, so in your calculator, we go 5 minus 6 negative equals, that equals 11. And the absolute value of 11 is 11. Any questions on finding the distance on a number line? Absolute value of the difference of the points, and difference means to subtract. All right, so turn the page. And we're going to look at the distance formula now on the coordinate plane. All right, so distance on the coordinate plane. Is equal to the square root of, you take your x sub 2 minus your x sub 1, you square it, and then you add it to your y sub 2 minus your y sub 1 squared. So here's how that works. Let's say we're going to find the distance from A to B. And we've got coordinate plane with our x and y axis. And let's say our segment is right here. Here's point A, here's point B. And point A has coordinates, all right? It looks to be at an x coordinate of 2 and a y coordinate of 1, 2, 3, 4. So A is at 2, 4. Point B is at 2, 4, 6, is at 8 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. Now, here's what I suggest that you do if you're asked to find the distance from A to B. I would write each coordinate or each point and its coordinate horizontally. And then I would label the points. Here's what I mean by label the points. At point A, you have an X value and a Y value. So I would label these points X sub 1, Y sub 1. X sub 1, Y sub 1. And then label the coordinates at point B. You've got another X and Y, but this is your X sub 2 and your Y sub 2. Now you have values that represent the variables in your formula. So you just substitute. And by substitute, I mean you take AB is equal to big square root. And now we take our X sub 2, which is 1, minus our X sub 1, which is 2. And we square it. And then we add it to our Y sub 2. I just messed that up, didn't I? X sub 1. It should be 8. Yeah, it should be 8 minus 2. So let me fix that. My apologies. 8 minus 2 squared plus our Y sub 2 is 1 minus our Y sub 1, which is 4 squared. Now, what you can do is type everything under the radical into the calculator. So if you take 8 minus 2, hit equals, and then 2 buttons above the 8 is an X squared. All right, so your 8 minus 2 is 6, and then 6 squared is 36. And then you've got your 1 minus 4 equals, and hit X squared, and you get a 9. So under the radical, we get 36 plus 9, which is 45. And then that value is sitting on your calculator screen. You're going to push the button that's 2 above the 9. The button looks like this. It's the square root button, and it will give you the square root of 45. And we'll round it. We'll round it 1 decimal place, so we'll go 6.7. All right, so the square root of 45 is the exact distance. 6.7 is an approximate distance. Any questions on that portion of the distance formula? All right, so look at example 2 down there on the bottom of page 26. And let's do one more of these. We're going to find the distance from C to D. They're telling you that C is located at -4, -6, and D is located at 5, -1. So again, I would label the points first. We've got an X sub 1 and a Y sub 1, and then an X sub 2 and a Y sub 2. And then we're going to substitute them into the distance formula. So our CD is equal to, we've got our X sub 2, which is 5, minus x sub 1, which is negative 4, squared, plus our y sub 2, which is negative 1, minus our y sub 1, which is negative 6, squared. So we're equal to here, we got 5 minus negative 4. So 5 minus 4 negative equals, that's a 9, and hit the x squared button. Yeah. And get 81 plus, be careful here when you've got a negative and you're subtracting another negative. So we got 1 negative minus 6 negative is equal to 5. And again, we push the x squared button, and that's 25. So we get the square root of 25 plus 81, which is 106. And the square root of 106, again, we're going to push the button 2 above the 9. 10.29, so we're going to round that to 10.3. So the distance from C to D is 10.3 units. Now the units would be whatever measure the coordinate plane is in. If the coordinate plane was in feet, feet. Whichever measure the coordinate plane is in is what your distance will be in. All right, so any questions on finding those different distances on the coordinate plane or on the number line? All right, then your practice for today is going to be on page 31. Problems 13 through 21. Please be sure to check your odd answers. You need to be checking your odd answers in the back of the book as you're completing the assignment.